Well, welcome back to the Kill a Bit of Time podcast. Thanks for returning. Today we're going to be talking a bit about AI, because I've been getting well into it recently. And we're going to go over a little bit about self-improvement as well, of course. And then I'm going to do a cheeky little nostalgic throwback and do a feature on an individual called Olivia Presley. It's not their real name. I'm going to sort of keep their identity partially covered, and I'll keep you covered with another invigorating episode. How are ya? I've been focusing this week on trying to control the contents of my thoughts, and by that, what I mean is when a negative thought comes up in my head, try to just get rid of it as quick as possible, rather than dwell on it. And that might seem really obvious, but the human condition sort of makes you want to dwell on negative thoughts for some reason, or maybe it's just me. But what happens to me is I have a thought, and then it translates into a negative emotion, and I'll dwell on it, and then it just rolls into it, and then it sometimes can snowball. So what I do is and it happens all the time. I've noticed since I've been trying to pay attention to it, is little thoughts will come up to piss me off, and then what would usually happen if I wasn't trying to work on myself is I'll just sit there and fucking dwell on it. But now what I'm trying to do is just quickly move on. And when I first started doing this. No matter how hard I tried, even if I really tried, I would keep thinking back to that thought. And it's like saying to someone, don't think of a green elephant, and then they do. It's a little bit like that with yourself. You go, don't think of that thought that annoyed you, and your brain goes, what thought? This one. You go, fuck. So you've got to not even entertain the idea of not thinking about it either. It's a really tricky little mental exercise to do. Right, don't think of that thing that pissed you off. What, this thing? Fuck. It's that little, you got to get out of that loop. So what I do is and I'm getting better. Like at the beginning, I was failing like 7 out of 10 times. I would think about what pissed me off again, and I'd remember it about 10 seconds later. My brain would just turf it back up for me. But recently, like today, for example, and the other day when I was doing my stock take, loads of things kept pissing me off, popping up, or I'll do something, I'll discover something, and I go, that's annoying, and then I'd go, just forget about that, because it's really not important. Most of the time, it's insignificant bullshit that come the end of your work day and you're sitting down having a nice cup of brew, you won't remember it because it's A, not important, B, it's going to be trivial shit anyway. This doesn't have any great impact on your life, and C, it's not worth you wasting your fucking energy on. It's just, so yeah, whatever these little things are, if it's not fucking life-threatening, just tuck it into a little box and forget about it, because it's probably not important. And if it is, just write it down. So I'm really trying to train my brain. It's tricky. Sorry, to have a little sip of my brew there. I've been getting into AI recently. I didn't realise how fucking amazing it was. I've been playing with ChatGPT, making little pictures. And I'm not doing a full podcast on it yet, because I'm going to do one. There's a lot of topic there. I'll just give you one little nugget, a little teaser. So one of my mates said, what do you think about this artificially created music, AI music, where you just tell it what to do and it make it for you? Because he showed me like a mixture of this Irish version of AC/DC, and it was amazing. It was really good. Like you could tell it wasn't quite right. A little bit like you can with the AI images. You can tell there was something a bit glossy about it, you know? So yeah, and then he goes, well, that's the end of musicians then, isn't it? That's it for musicians. And I was thinking, no, I don't think it is actually. I think that's it for studio production technicians. I think that's it for graphics design artists. I mean, they're out the fucking picture now. I can make whatever picture I want just by typing in words. Graphic design, feel sorry for those cunts if they studied that at university 10 years ago. So music production technicians, I mean, they're not long for the bucket either, because it won't be long before you can just type in, add bass to that tune, please. Can you make that bass more funky, please? And then, that's literally what studio production technicians do now. So they'll be fucked soon. And then my mate was going, well, musicians as well. And I was thinking, no, I think actually it's going to be good for musicians, because first of all, they thought this when the record industry came along. They thought, oh, that's it for musicians then. Musicians are fucked. Everyone could just listen to a CD or a fucking vinyl or whatever it was, wax disc, wax cylinder when they first came out. Everyone just listened to that. But musicians, they're still needed, weren't they? It wasn't the end of musicians, and I don't think this will be either. I think it's actually going to be a revival for musicians. For this reason, they won't be needed to record music anymore as such, unless you want authentic, like human people, or someone with a name. You can go, this is played by X person. Wow, this is an original. But I think it's going to be good for musicians because I think there's going to be a big return to the appreciation of live music, especially as, let's say, in 20 years' time, 99% of the music has moved into the artificial realm. It's just being created artificially. Then you're going to go, well, do you want to listen to a fucking AI music, or should we go and see real people play real instruments? And I think there's going to be a revival of live music because people, one of the good things about listening to recorded music today is it's like there's a bit of it that's like listening to the real person. Not so much these days, but like if you're listening to a Beatles song or something like that, you're getting a little taste. It's like Paul McCartney singing in your ear. But it's not going to be like that in 20 years' time, maybe even 10 years' time. People will know, like, this isn't real. This isn't real music I'm listening to. So if you want to taste a real music, you have to go and listen to them live. Right now, people listen to recorded music tricks you into thinking you're listening to real music, and you are. It's just being recorded and replayed in a different way. It's still real. Artificially intelligent music, created music, has got nothing to do with the original composer whatsoever. So, for that reason, I think there's going to be a live music revival. And for another reason, you'll never get rid of live musicians. It's fundamental I think it's inbuilt into our ancestral DNA. There's something within us that stirs up raw emotions when you're listening to live music. If something stirs within you that you can't put a fucking finger on, but it's good. It's like watching a fire burn in the woods. There's something hypnotizing about it. You get transfixed, and it's the authenticity, it's the unpredictability. It's live, it's happening now. That's why I think live music will never die for a start, and I think it'll make a comeback. It's like those fake log burners you see in the houses, or those fake fires. Yeah, they kick up warmth. Yeah, they look like the real thing, but it's not as good as the real thing, is it? So I think more people are going to be getting rid of their log burners, and they're going to be going out in the woods watching a real fire. That's what I think. I might be wrong. You never know. Anyway, that's just a cheeky little nugget. That was just a cheeky little intro, little teasing little nug there to get you ready for my full AI podcast. I need to pay AI some reverence there. I'm going to include AI. I'm going to, you know what? I'll have AI on as a guest on the podcast. How about that? We'll see how that fucking goes. I'll ask it some questions. Say, welcome to my podcast, Mr. AI. And we'll ask it some questions, see what it wants to tell us. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be fun. It's going to be enjoyable for me to create. And hopefully you'll enjoy listening to it too. People out there, whoever the fuck you are. Anyway, I'm going to move on to a feature. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but let me give you a bit of background. I did a podcast, and I did a little feature on this fella called Ballface, and it got me thinking. I want to include more features about people that I've met along my travels, and then once I've got enough people down, I'm going to get a transcript of this sections of the podcast. I'm going to put it all into a book, and it's going to be a book about people that I met along my little travel of life. And so I've done Ballface, and this next one is going to be about someone. It's a nostalgic one. It's an important person in my life, especially when I was growing up. I've given him a code name because I don't think he wants his real name in the public domain. I would suspect. And so his real name is sorry, his fake name is Olivia Presley. That's the alias, and the feature is going to be
people from the past.
So here we go, first rendition of people from the past. And the first entry into this feature is going to be a fella called Olivia Presley. He's quite an interesting fella, And that's why I'm doing a bit on him. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be doing the features on lots of other people that I met along the way. But this is quite a key one in my life. And I'm just going through some of the highlights, some of the highlights that some of my favourite times we've had, and things that I think are interesting or noteworthy that popped up in my little memory whilst I was thinking about what we'd done together and stuff like that. But by no means does that mean that this is a summary execution. This is everything that happened. There'll be loads of stuff I've forgotten. There'll be loads of stuff that may have happened that I was there for, but I just haven't thought about in years, so it hasn't popped up. Some things popped up whilst I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about it in a while. And it sort of like made me remember again, trying to hash some of this stuff up. So yeah, cheeky little disclaimer. It's not a summary, it's just some of the highlights. And as well as this, to tell the story properly of this fella, Olivia Presley, I'm going to have to do a little bit of a background on this. When I was growing up, right, I used to knock about in this group of people. When we were about in between the ages of about 14 and 17. And we called ourselves, like as retrospectively cringeworthy as it is, we called ourselves the Silver Stoners. And that was like a group that we all hung about in. And I think there's about 6 or 7 of us or something like that. All right. So, and then Olivia Presley was sort of like within that group. All right. So that gives a little bit of context to stuff I'm going to talk about soon. But anyway, so moving on. So old Olivia Presley, let's just call him Presley for short. All right. He was my closest mate growing up. And it was like, you know, when everyone, when they're growing up, they say, that's my best mate there. Everyone's got a best mate. And sort of like when you get older, when you get into like, I don't know, there's no cutoff point, but at a certain point, as an adult, you can't really go, he's my best friend. Who's your best friend? It's like something you say when you're about 13, isn't it? Who's your best friend? I've got 2. Nobody has 2 best friends. I've already got 1. And then I think you maybe have a second best friend. But, you know, that's a bit of an insult. You're my second best friend. You're not quite number 1 spot. But when I was growing up, this fella, Presley, he was number 1 spot. And I used to knock about with him all the time. Used to get up to good stuff together. And I met him when I was in year 9. And I got kicked out of my form. Right, at school we had forms. They split the year group up. You had a form tutor. And my form tutor, Mrs. Wood, I think she was called, something like that, was she was a nice lady. But I used to terrorise the classroom anyway because it got me the attention that I wanted and needed. Anyway, one of the days that I was fuck-assing around, I put some PVA glue on her chair, just right in the middle of the chair, PVA glue. All right, and she wasn't the only one. I did it to a couple of other kids in the class as well. And anyway, she sat down, and then we all thought it was hilarious. And then she pulled me up when she figured out it was me. It didn't take long, did it? They always figure it out. And she was like a little bit teary, going, "Was it you? Just tell me the truth." And I was like, "Yeah." But to me, I thought back on this over the years, and to me, it was just an innocent little prank. I was putting a big glue on the chair. What's the fucking big deal? But as I got older, I realised that she might have thought that I was trying to make it look like she had some sort of like leakage from a private area. You know what I mean? PVA glue, when it dries, it's sort of like white and slimy, isn't it? So she might have thought I was doing something way more sinister than I actually was. Like in my head, I was just thought, it's funny, isn't it? Glue on a chair. To someone who's been around a block a few times, you might think, this fella's trying to make it look like I've got some sort of discharge, because it looks well like it when it's dried up, and it's exactly where it should be, right in the middle of the chair. If you think about it, when you sit down, right in the middle of the chair, PVA glue. It looks like I was up to something way more sinister than I actually was, but I actually wasn't. And I think I got fucking misrepresented there. But anyway, I got kicked out. And I moved into this new form, and there he was, Olivia Presley. I thought, I'll sit next to him. He looks friendly. You know, he had long hair. You can if you've got long hair, when I was growing up, you're more likely to be friendly. I need a brew in a minute. Anyway, I sat next to the Presley fella, and got on with him quite well because it was quite easy to wind up, and I used to love winding people up. I still do. I still wind people up now. It's like it's I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I just enjoy to do it. Anyway, we always used to sit next to each other. Well, actually, thinking about it, I think I just sat next to him. I think given the choice, a lot of the times he would have rather sat somewhere else. I made sure he sat down first, and then I would go and sit down next to him. If I sat down first, I ran the risk of him sitting somewhere else. So I always had to make sure that he was before me in the queue. She had to queue outside the classrooms. Presley goes first. He sits down. I sit next to Presley. We'll be in and we have a good old time. I think he pretended that he wasn't having a good time sometimes. But he was. He was having a good time, I think. Some of the things we did, what I did, was I used to put apple cores in his pocket in maths. It's a fond memory of mine. I used to finish an apple because we used to eat in class all the time. So it was one way to stave off the boredom, wasn't it? You always have a bit of packed lunch in you. Get out an apple. Obviously not allowed to eat in class, so you keep it hidden under the desk. Have a sneaky bite of the apple when the teacher wasn't looking. In maths, it was this fella called Mr. Tyrrell. Big scary teacher. You don't want to fuck with him. He was one of the ones that had a reputation. You don't fuck with him. He just gave you that glare. You didn't have to do anything. I mean, what are they going to do? They don't present any actual real physical harm, do they? They're not an actual physical threat. But for some reason, if this geezer, Mr. Tyrrell, looked at you, you shat yourself. He's not about to come over and beat you at the head of a fucking table. But his look sort of said, I might. So you think, I better not. There's a 5% chance that he's going to throw me out the window. So you just fucking behaved if he looked at you, which made it even more of a challenge in the class to fuck about. And it made, what was it? The fear made it more hilarious. Because if you got caught laughing, you get the stare. If you got giggling in the fucking maths and he stared at you, it's game over. Then he's watching you for the rest of the fucking class, for the rest of the fucking time there. You want to be under the radar. But anyway, that's why it made it fucking hilarious to put apple cores in my mate's pocket, because it was twofold. It was a challenge to eat the apple and get away with it. It was a challenge to get the apple core in Presley's pocket, and it was a challenge not to get caught giggling as I did it. It was 3 challenges wrapped up into one. And old Presley used to get wise to it eventually, and he used to start holding his blazer pocket in his lap whilst we were through the class. But I was persistent. I would wait. I would have the apple core and I'd wait, because eventually he's concentrating on class, because he was quite good, bless him. He tried to concentrate. He tried to do. I was really not concentrating at all. I was more focused on putting apple cores in his pocket, eating lunch, and trying to, those what was the tool you used to do to make circles? You put a little pencil in one end, you screw it in, it's got a little point in the other end. Can't remember what they're called now, but I used to make the point really long and then swing it and stab it into your arm and see if you can make the little pin going into your arm. It made a little hole. That was fun as well. But anyway, I was doing all this stuff while Paul Presley was trying to concentrate. Anyway, eventually he would drop his blazer pocket, and I'd be like, aha, it's my time to strike, and I'd get it in there. And it was best when he didn't realise until after. And then there was a few times where I think I caught a fucking apple core across the head, because he'd find it and fucking launch it at me. But anyway, I used to do other stuff to wind him up, especially in maths. It was a good one. And I wound him up so much to the point one day, I was winding him up. I think it was in maths. Yeah, it was maths. And I wound him up to the point where he stood up, picked up a chair, and then fucking, did he throw it at me? I think he threw it at me. Threw a fucking chair at me. Mr. Tyrrell, big old scary Tyrrell, fucking seen Presley launching a chair, and then Presley is the one who gets fucking the bollocking. So it's hilarious. That was a good laugh. I used to wind him up in English as well. And what tended to happen was I'd just wind him up to the point where he would just start beating me in the arm. I think that was the climax of the average situation. That was for some reason I won then. It was like, yeah, I was taking beatings in the arm, but it was like I tipped him over the edge. So it was like, it was painful, but I won. So we both lost in a way. But I felt a sense of achievement. Like, can I get him to beat me in the arm today? But anyway, so we did that. And then what happened was eventually, I think that was for the first year. And eventually what happened was, he got into my wavelength, I think. And when we joined forces and we started winding other people up together, and we would sort of bounce off each other and wind other people up, and we became quite proficient at it. We had little strategies. We had well-rehearsed mental and psychological tricks and games that we'd use on people to push them over the edge and wind them up. We just have to give each other a look and go, we're doing this one, are we? And and we used to fucking it was like a little mental exercise. I mean, sometimes I think back to some of the stuff we did, and it might sound nasty now, but when you're a teenager, it's not. I don't know why it's not. It just isn't. I'll give you one example. There's this girl, right, called Angula, right? We got wind that she was upset anyway, and she was a great one to wind up. We used to wind her up, right? And the aim of the game with Angula was we knew we could get her to cry. Easy. It was easy pickings. I think that was in history. But right, Angula. Wesley, you sit on one side of her. I'll sit on the other side of her. And we'll just fucking wind the fuck out of her until she starts bawling. And it was pretty much a 100% success rate every single time. And the teacher would just let her off. She could just start fucking turning on the crocodile tears. Oh, go outside, it's fine. You can now go and have a little cry. That was back then. Imagine what it's like now. And, that might sound harsh now. It does. I fully understand how that might sound now. It sounds like bullying, doesn't it? But it wasn't. It wasn't. It's not bullying if they're a fucking dickhead. And this Angula fella, woman, bird, person, was a bit of a knob. And she would turn on the tears too easy as well. I can't explain why it wasn't. It was just funny. It was just funny. One of the times she come in, right, we got wind that a cat died, right? And we thought, fucking hell, it's going to be an easy one today. And we managed to get her bawling without even saying a word. What we did was we sort of drew a cat on a whiteboard, and then had sort of like drew a cartoon road on it. Was it a dead cat? No, I think it was the cat was alive on the board. But anyway, she walked in, took two seconds. She looked at the whiteboard, started bawling. That was it. Done. Job done. Mission complete. Didn't have to do nothing. And I understand that might sound harsh now, but back then it was hilarious. It's like, I wouldn't do that now. That's why I tell people some of these stories. It's like, oh, you're a fucking cunt, aren't you? No, I wouldn't do that now, obviously. I wouldn't do that now. You can't judge someone on what they did in their past when they were like fucking 12, 13, can you? Especially when it's stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's like, for example, right? Presley, yeah? It's Presley. I used to, when, if there was some parents that he hadn't met, I think I was meeting one of our mates' parents, and they're about to meet Presley. And I used to have this story that I used to tell people. I said, oh, Presley, he's a nutcase, that fella. And the parents would say, why? I said, oh, he lives on this farm, right? And he catches cats, shaves them, ties them to an electric fence. Dips them in water, ties them to an electric fence so they get jolted, and then shoots them with an air rifle until they're dead. And I used to tell that to people's parents. And then I think it came up about 5 years ago at some sort of event. And they were like, you horrible bastard. Why would you do that? I don't know. I obviously wouldn't do it now, would I? It's not something I'd fucking go and do now. Some people are just a little bit highly strung, aren't they? But what can you do? Anyway, at the end of the school day, we'd go and wait around in this bus yard. And I think we got on different buses because we lived in different parts of the village. And all this bus yard was orchestrated by this cunt of a teacher called Mr. Baker. And he used just to march around there like fucking Hitler. And if you ever got banned from the bus, you'd obviously try and sneak on the bus. And he was forever just getting on buses trying to find people who'd been banned. So you'd get in, put your hood up and put your head down. And he'd fucking wheel you out. Get off. You're banned. Give me a bus pass. And he'd tell me you lost it. You actually haven't. But if you had a sound bus driver, like I did, I used to get him a bottle of wine and a packet of fags every Christmas because I was banned from the bus so much. And what I used to do was I used to go out of school, walk down the road a bit, and he would stop and pick me up. So I always got my bottle of wine and a pack of fags to say thank you. But anyway, we used to knock about the bus yard, Mr. Baker, fucking wanker, storming around, trying to fucking dish out punishments and take your bus pass off you. I remember one time there was this, we were on a bus and the bus driver reported that someone being me, was shining a laser pen down from the top deck into the mirror, down into the driver's cab, which you could do. Because they had mirrors. I don't know what the top deck of a bus is like anymore. I haven't been on the top deck of a bus for fucking years. But the ones I had, you had mirrors. It was like a little mirror, and it shone down. There's a little tunnel from the top deck down to the bottom deck. It's probably cameras now, isn't it? But back then, there was like a little tunnel, and you could look through it, and you could see the top of the driver's head. And I used to shine laser pen down there. Anyway, he told Mr. Baker, and he got us all to get out, lined us all up along the fucking bus, and went along one by one and said, "Who's got the laser pen? Who's got the laser pen?" And luckily, none of them fucking gave it up. I got away with that one. But anyway, if you fucked about on the buses, you get banned by Baker. Anyway, I used to hang around the village when we got off. I used to get off, go home, Merswell Lane, right, is where I used to live. There's a little village called Silverstone, right? And so me and this Presley fella and these other lads. Just starting off with, when it was just me and Presley, before the group sort of formed, we used to just mooch about. And what we did was we used to climb trees, we used to chase cows, right? We used to do garden hopping. We just sort of like hang around, just hang around. I don't know why we chased cows. It's sort of like because we had a lack of stuff to do, I suppose. But anyway, what happened eventually was we decided to take up smoking because I was in a situation where I could get my hands on fags. And I was like, look what I've got. And he's like, fucking hell, where'd you get them? And I told him. And then because we were curious about what it would be like to be addicted to something, we decided, both of us, to take up smoking. Retrospectively, a fucking foolish idea, because it took both of us about 20 years to give it up. But back then, we were like curious. We were like, because you are, when you're like 13, 14, you think, I wonder what it's like to be addicted to something. It's a strange concept when you're that age. You don't know what it's like to be addicted to something. It's a bizarre concept to go, what? What do you mean I have to have another one? Surely you just don't have another one. Why? What makes what does a craving feel like? And because we were curious, we were like, right, fuck it, let's do a little experiment. Let's get addicted to cigarettes, see what it's like, and then get off them again. Can't be that hard. 20 years that took. It's quite a lengthy experiment. But anyway, if we were mooching about in a village, usually sort of like, sometimes we'd be hanging out on his granddad's farm, which is awesome. He had this little caravan, right, on this farm. I used just to go there. It was called the caravan. Sometimes you'd say, "Are you coming to the caravan tonight?" And it's the most exciting words you could say. What? We going to the caravan? Holy fuck! That means good times are about to come. Me, Presley, and this other bloke from my year, we'll call him Dayleb. We'll call him, and someone else. Every now and then we have guest appearances from other people in our year. And we used to just get absolutely fucking hammered as possible. Smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, listening to Muse. We were big into Muse back then. And we'd turn it up full volume and just go mental in this caravan. And we'd all come out of it absolutely fucking stinking. It was a dirty fucking affair because we didn't give a shit. We were covered in fag ash, beer, just raving it up in a fucking tiny little caravan. It was good. It was a good fucking laugh. I used to love that little caravan shindigs. And during these caravan shindigs, in the morning, every fucking morning, Presley would get up early, disappear for a bit, and come back with eggs and bacon. And then, because he did it every time, we would then wake up and say, "Presley, where's our eggs and bacon?" Because now we expected eggs and bacon. It was part of the experience. You go up, you get pissed up in the caravan, and then Wesley goes off and brings you back eggs and bacon. That was the deal. And we used to just fuck around on the farm as well. We used to go off on quad bikes and take air rifles and just run around, just having fun. One of the good things about the caravan shindigs was Presley always seemed to have an unlimited amount of miscellaneous sort of distilled alcohol. He said, should we get on the moonshine? Don't know what it was to this day. Sometimes he'd say, here's some plum moonshine. Here's some plum stuff. And we didn't know what percent it was. Don't know what sort of alcohol it was. Don't know how long it had been knocking about for. Some of those bottles were dusty as fuck. Sometimes he said, I thought I ran out, but I found another fucking 6 bottles here. Where? Rolled up in a fucking carpet in the garage somewhere. What do you mean you found another 6 bottles buried in a load of shit? But you just seemed to have like an unlimited amount. So we just get wankered on that. Another thing we used to do was have these these field parties, right? That's if there was too many people to use the caravan. We'd go to the fields, make a big fire, sit around, drink loads of beer, bring a tent if you fancy crashing, or just curl up into a ball next to the fire. And I burned my hand really badly once, actually. I just remember that now. I'd spend the whole next day of my trying to sleep with my hand in like a pint of water, just sat there. Anyway, that's irrelevant. We used to get these big sessions, right, on the farm, drinking beer. And one of the things that I remembered when I was thinking about this was Presley's reverence to beer and his despise for the wastage of any sort of alcoholic beverage whatsoever. It was like you're committing a crime, and Presley was particularly like he was the enforcer of this rule. If you fucking wasted beer, you had to answer to fucking Presley because he didn't like it, and rightly fucking so as well. I think one of Presley's pet peeves, one of his gripes was, because often he would provide alcohol. He'd get like a couple of cases. He'd come to the farm. Here's a fire. I've got 2 cases of beer. Help yourself. And what used to really piss him off was he'd go around and he'd find like half drank fucking cans of lager everywhere. He'd be like, who's done this? Who's cracked? And sometimes pretty much full ones. Who's done this? Who the fuck has done this? And one thing that tipped him over the edge one day was he found a full, unopened can of beer just in the fire, just in the middle of the fire, roaring fire. Not roaring, but it was alight. There was plenty of flames alight. And we were like, oh shit, Presley ain't gonna like that. And then what he did was to sort of make a point. This was like a symbolic moment. He got the beer out, the full beer out with his bare hands. You could tell it was burning him because he was struggling to get it out. And then with shaking, trembling hands, he managed to crack open the top of this beer whilst he was fucking so hot, he was trembling whilst fucking holding it. And he fucking brought it up to his lips and took a sip out of it. And I don't know what he said. I wish I could remember what he said. But it wasn't the words that was important. It was the action that was symbolic. And what he was saying was, don't fucking waste beer. I'm drinking burning hot fucking beer right now that I plucked out of fire with my bare fucking hands. Don't be wasting fucking beer. And then what we had to do was we all passed it around and took a sip out of the hot beer to say, okay, where's Presley? Okay, Presley, we understand. Everyone, take a sip of the beer. Go on. And what else used to happen was, it was the spilling of the beer. It used to piss him off as well. Spilt beer. If you spill beer, if you get caught spilling beer, you have to get down on your hands and knees and to sup it off of wherever the fuck you spilled it. And that was in a field, on the street, in the bar, off of a crusty carpet. Doesn't matter where it was. If you spilt the beer, you had to pay homage to the beer. That was it. That's what he said. You must pay homage to the beer. And he meant it. And sometimes, every now and then, someone would protest. Like they wouldn't protest it. It was Presley saying it. If Presley said, he wouldn't really have to say much. He'd just point to it and like tilt his head sideways, and they'd be down on their hands and knees, supping beer out of a fucking green carpet. But if someone else tried to enforce the rules, they'd go, "No, I'm not drinking it out of that." All you have to do is go, Presley, this fella's saying they're not going to do it, and then Presley would say, "You are fucking doing it," and they'd have to drink it. For some reason, Presley sort of had the casting vote in a lot of these situations. And I think it was because of the burning hot beer situation. He was like, he was like, he was the one. He's the one who had the right to say, drink it off the carpet, because he was the one who took it out of the burning fucking fire. He was the one. He was the first one. He was like Moses with beer. It's like, and then it sort of became sort of one of his partial sort of like obligations of the group. He was sort of like the judge, jury, and executioner of the beer situation. If you wasted beer, it's up to Presley what happened next. And then because of that sort of translated into Presley having the final say in other situations as well. I'll give you a little example now. We're having a messenger call the other day, right? Just an ad hoc one. His brother, Giles, called me up. And he's like, let's get Presley on the call as well. So it was me, Giles, and Presley. Giles and Presley are brothers. Anyway, we're having a little chit chat. I was talking about when we were going to meet up with Presley in the future. I said we should meet up and go to a Christmas market. And then Giles was sort of then taking the mick out of me, saying, "What are you getting excited for Christmas market for? Christmas market? What are you getting excited about that for?" And I was like, "What?" And then we had a very brief sort of difference of opinion. I was excited for the Christmas market. Giles sort of was saying that my interest in the Christmas market was not valid. And then Presley waited until there was a null point and then said, "A Christmas market is valid excitement." And that was the end of the matter. That was the end of the matter. Presley said that. So I was like, okay. And I think that's what happened to a lot of situations in the group. And it all started with that beer from the fire. That was the instigator of that. And that sort of like developed into his role of the group. He'd have the casting vote. And every group needs that person. Because otherwise debates just go on and on and on. Don't forget back then when we were debating about stuff in our groups, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have AI. We had internet, but only on like in the house. We didn't have phones. We couldn't just ask fucking Siri. We had to try and just hash it out between us. So a lot of the time, big debates would go on, and you needed someone just to go, "Look, this person's right or this person's right," and then now let's move on. And that was his job of the group. You know, it's an integral part of the group. Every group needs one, and that was his little job there. But yeah, I had fond memories. Quad biking, air rifles on a farm. That was good. I had a little band at the time, right? That Presley was sort of an honorary member of, and the band was called Funkatic, and it wasn't very good. It was just a bit of fun, you know what I mean? We used to just drink beer. It was another excuse to drink beer. We used to drink beer, play a bit of music in my mates' sort of living room. Let's call him alias. Let's call him McPhallis. That's just as an alias there. We used to play in his living room. Then Presley, he couldn't really join in because he didn't play an instrument. But he was still in our little friendship group, so he came anyway. So what happened was, I think one day he tried to use the bongos. He said, I'll try the bongos, see if I can join in with an instrument. But he quickly discovered he's got no rhythm. He hasn't got a musical bone in his body. For some reason, he's got no rhythm. It's bizarre, isn't it? I thought everyone had rhythm. Everyone can hear the beat of the music. So I don't know what it is. I'm sure he can hear the beat of the music. Everyone can hear the beat of a music. I'm convinced of that. So why couldn't he just tap his hands in the, to the beat? I didn't understand that. Some people just can't do it. I don't got it. And Presley is one of them people. He got no rhythm. So that's what that is. But he used to come anyway. And he was like a honorary member. We wouldn't go without Presley. Presley had to be there. It was weird if he wasn't there, even though he didn't play an instrument. It was like if he wasn't there, we may have not just the practice session might not happen. You know what I mean? But later on, we started mooching about the village with some sort of other like-minded folk, and we began to partake regularly in the consumption of marijuana. And we called ourselves, this group, the Silver Stoners, right? And I know it's a bit of a, like, back then we thought it was brilliant because the village we lived in was called Silverstone. We like getting stoned, so we called ourselves the Silver Stoners. And obviously, what we did was we met up and we just smoked marijuana in different areas, and we still did other stuff whilst we were smoking marijuana. It's just that we were smoking marijuana as well. It was the first thing. Some people say it's a gateway drug. Maybe it is. But anyway, that's what we did. I used to hang out in these various areas of the village. There's on our list a few for you now. We had the horizontal tree. We used to hang out there. And that was exactly what it was. It was just a tree that fell over. We used to meet there. And hollow tree. That was another one. That was just a tree that was hollow for some reason. So that was another good spot. And we used to climb that tree. We tried to make a little tree house out of that once. And then there was this bloke called, let's call him, fuck it, there's Tom. This bloke called Tom, because he's changed his name now anyway. Back then he was called Tom. And we caught him once trying to fucking break our tree house. He was like snapping bits of wood off. So what we did was, he was in the tree. We snuck up on him. That was 6 of us. And we were like, caught you bastard. And then we just started launching rocks at him. Again, it's one of those things. It sounds harsh and now, but back then it was justified. And we were just fucking hailing him with rocks. I think he took one to the face, realised he was in a bit of danger, jumped out of the tree, and fucking legged it. We all legged it after him. But he was fast. But he had to be, because he was getting chased a lot. He was a nippy little fella. But he didn't help himself, because he used to fucking shout fucking profanities at us as he ran away. I think he liked it. But anyway, more about that fella later, because he's definitely having a fucking section at some point, because I've got a lot of material on that fella. Let me tell you that for nothing. But anyway, the hollow tree, that was one of them. Good karma spot, that was another one. That was just literally a patch in a field. It had no relevance to anything. There was nothing distinguishable about it at all. We just selected it because we decided that area of the field had good karma. Because we were little hippies, weren't we? We were just introduced to marijuana. We were thinking about karma and things like that. We were interested in partaking on psychedelic journeys in the future, and we were not preparing ourselves for what's to come. So we had the good karma spot, and then we had the bench of good karma reflection, and that was just a bench. And for some reason, all these places had names like that. Another one we had was the bus stop. That didn't have a name. We just said meet you at the bus stop. That didn't need any more description. And then we had another one called Gingy's Face. That was just a bush. A bush we called Gingy's Face. I don't know why we called it that. We just did. We had the pond in Pocket Park. We used to meet by there, smoke marijuana by the pond in Pocket Park. We had the skate park, which wasn't a skate park at all. It was just a strip of concrete where someone had sort of put a bit of old plyboard on a breeze block, and they rolled their skateboard down it, so they called it the skate park. Then we had the abandoned house. That was a good one. We used to go there. I think about this sometimes, because sometimes I get a bad chest, and I put it down to the abandoned house, because what we used to do was go over there and just demolish the place. We were like a little demolition crew going in there, see how many walls we could take down, and the roofs and things like that. And I was just thinking, that place had definitely got full of fucking asbestos. The amount of fucking asbestos I must have inhaled whilst I was tearing that house apart must have been insane. So, but back then, we weren't really worried about asbestos. Didn't even think about it. Not once. It was dodgy as fuck. We had the tree out there as well. There was a good tree outside the abandoned house. We used to climb that, go up in there. We had the infant school as well. Obviously not whilst it was open. But when it was in the evening, everything was closed down. They had a little porch there and a little bit of shelter. And if you're out there smoking marijuana every day of the fucking year, sometimes it's raining. You need a bit of shelter. So if we needed shelter, we go there. Activities. We had a few little activities whilst we were smoking old marijuana. One of which was the arduous journey. This arduous journey, right, was literally like a probably about 100-meter crawl through a bush on the edge of a field. And we'd go through it for the pure reason that at the end of it, we decided if you go through this arduous journey through the bush, if you get to the end, you get good karma. Sounds ridiculous now thinking back on it. Right, so we'll go to the arduous journey, go through that, get some good karma. We'll go sit at the good karma spot for a while and smoke some marijuana, and then we'll finish off the day. We're sitting on the bench of good karma reflection and smoke a little marijuana there as well. That was sort of like what we did most of the time. Then roof climbing. That was a good one. We'd climb on the infant school roof. We'll climb on the junior school roof. Any roofs that are available, we'll try and get up there. That was good fun. Garden hopping. That was another good one. We had little routes through people's gardens. We just jump from one to the other, try not to get caught. Bush diving. That was another good one. That was literally just running and launching your body through a bush. And we had some favourite bushes as well. We'd be like, right, should we do some bush diving? Let's go to that good bush at the top of the Slade. There's a real good bush at the top of the Slade because there was like a bit of grass where you could get a good run up, and the bush was like man height. It was about a 5 or 6 foot bush, and it was relatively perilous. You could land on the other side without injuring yourself. It was good bush, and you could go straight through that bush. That was a good one to dive through. So that was a regular one. But we didn't discriminate. If we found another bush that looked good for jumping in, by all means, we'd have a little jump in that bush as well. Guerrilla Wars, that was an interesting one. We used to just do this thing called Guerrilla Wars. And my dad said it's because there wasn't enough females around. And what we used to do was make into 2 teams, right? Six aside, I say. Right, we're doing 6-a-side Guerrilla Wars. And we used to get on our hands and knees and sort of gallop as fast as we could on our hands and knees towards each other, both groups, and just nut each other. And then the aim of the game was to get the other side out. Either fucking nut them to a point where they tap out, or they flip on their back and they're done or whatever. And it was just like all out guerrilla war. And you just run up and just fucking nut them as hard as you fucking could. And so looking back on it, it's pretty mental. Just to fucking 12 fucking 15-year-olds just in the field nutting each other. But it's not all we did. We played a bit of music as well. Me and my other mate I used to play guitar. He used to have a clarinet. I used to provide a little bit of entertainment for the group as well. It was good. Fond memories I have sitting there with Presley in the sunny little fields of Silverstone, listening to a bit of music, nutting each other, and getting some good karma there. It was good. It was good times. I reckon I had a good experience growing up in that village. It was very nice. Every Halloween, we'd terrorise this specific house, and it was for Presley. Because what happened was, apparently, Presley said, these people here, they're cunts. They tried to sue my family for something, so they're a target. So we were like, okay, enough said, Presley, enough said. Then every year, for probably about 3 or 4 years, we used to target all of our eggs at this one house. We didn't really do that much egging. We weren't really that interested in it. Apart from this one house, they just got annihilated every fucking Halloween. We used to target all of our eggs at this one place. And to the point where they started expecting it. They were like, it's Halloween, they know now. They know now we're coming for them. So they sort of you could see. I think what happened was that as soon as the first egg would fly, they'd be out legging it after us. They knew. They were fucking ready. I don't know. We didn't want to. When you wouldn't want to get caught by them, because if you got caught, they know that you've been doing it the last fucking 4 years. They've had 4 years of pent up fucking aggression ready for you. So it was getting more and more sketchy each year that went by. But I think they got good recompense there. Everyone had their role in the group, and Presley's role was he was the sensible one. He was the one that you would want your parents to say, I'm going out. Who are you going with? I'm going with Presley. Oh, that's okay then. If you said you're going with Presley, that would put your parents' mind at ease. The parents would always like Presley because he was quite well spoken. He came across quite a nice chap. He didn't look like he did drugs. He never looked stoned or nothing like that. He was just you go, yeah. If you were going out, so I'm going to a party this Saturday. They go, oh, are you? And then you'd say, Presley's going to be there. And they go, oh, okay, that's fine then. He was like that, and he was like the sensible one. He was always the one there who could bring. If a situation was getting out of hand, you could always depend on Presley to level it out. He was sort of the one who had his head screwed on. You go, right, this is getting a bit out now, guys. Let's fucking make sure, nothing goes tits up. I can't think of a specific situation to pin to that one. When I was at uni, right, here's one. We were on a bender, right? If we were ever on a bender, there's this one time we were. And my mum and dad said, oh, we're going to be there in 10 minutes to say hello. And I was in no fit state to say hello to anyone. We're at the end of a bender, for fuck's sake. We were like, Presley, you have to speak to my parents because I'm in no fit state. He was like, yep, sound. He knew it was his job as well. He knew it. He was the compos mentis one. If we were out in town or at uni or whatever, and if someone had to speak to someone important or someone had to speak to the police, Presley was the one. Because we had best odds if we got Wesley to be the one who spoke. And nobody else was up to that task. I was too much of a dickhead. Liam looked way too fucking out of it. Just nobody else was suitable. Presley was the best one for that job. But little did they know, he was technically just as much of a fucking degenerate as everyone else. He just looked the part. So he played the fucking part. But yeah, he was a fiend for a cup of tea. He used to fucking love cups of tea, especially when he was like, we were hungover or whatever the next day. He's always up first as well. He's always up first. And you go, you right, wipe the grog out of your eyes. You right, Presley? You'd be like, yep. He was always sound. He's always pretty chirpy. I mean, what have you been up to? You been up? He's like, yeah, man. I'm on my 6th cup of tea already. He used to get up early and just smash cups of tea, one after the other. Bang, 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 bang. And I think he was onto something. He was always in a well good mood the next day. I remember after one particular fucking piss up in Daventry, right? We got up early, and we were in Presley's realm now, so we did as the Presley did, and we got up early, and we were all hungover as fuck, and breaking out the tea, we were all just drinking tea, and it was all right. And then Presley got the telly on. We were in the mood for just watching something, you know what I mean? And I'll never forget it. It was a very good memory of just, we're all just sitting there. For some reason, you know when you can't find anything to watch and you go, fuck it, we'll just watch this then. It settled on this interesting movie called The Breakfast Club. I've never seen it before. It was like a early 80s, late 70s type movie. And it was fucking hilarious. I don't know if it's because we were hungover or stoned or whatever, but it was fucking hilarious. These words in movies like that you just don't hear anymore. Ruckus. Ruckus was one of those words. There was a scene where a teacher said to one of the students, he goes, "Did you hear that ruckus?" And then the student goes, "I didn't hear a ruckus, sir." "Did you hear a ruckus?" "No, I didn't hear a ruckus." Ruckus. I might start trying to introduce that word back into my life. I'd say, Dave, I'll say to my missus, "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" "That ruckus." That's what she says. I guarantee you now she'll say, "What the fuck is a ruckus?" But anyway, yeah, that was good. And we smashed cups of tea. And it was good. It's a good shout. He went off for a bit when I was doing my A-levels to his farrier course, and which is like a blacksmith for horses. You make horseshoes and stuff like that. And at this point, the group was sort of missing a vital piece. Like I said, everyone has their role in the group, and we needed to fill it. So what we tried to do was fill it by recruiting his younger brother, Giles. And which didn't really work because everyone's different, aren't they? I mean, Giles brought a whole different like flavour, but we needed the Presley presence. It wasn't quite the same. And then when he returned, we'd always have like celebrate with a good old fucking like Bucknell shindig. Bucknell shindigs were the best sort of celebrations. If we said we're having a Bucknell shindig, it was always fucking good times. We just go to in the woods called Bucknell Woods, make a big fire. It's a little bit like what we did at Presley's farm, but on a larger scale, where you didn't really have to worry about anything. You could do what you want. You can make the fire as big as you wanted, and it's sound. We used to do that. And yeah, but he never followed the course through, that farrier course, I don't think. No, he didn't. And it's whilst I was doing my A-levels, he never followed it through. But I think it's the same for like 90% of people who choose a profession that early age. I think it's too early. You shouldn't have to decide what you want to do when you're fucking 16, 17. You don't know. Nobody knows. I think most people don't have a fucking clue what they want to do at that age. And anyone who fucking starts to fucking embark on sort of like education about something they can do, most of the time it changes. Mine did. And most other people I know fucking changed as well. You should just go with the flow. You know what I mean? But anyway, like my sister likes to say, different strokes for different folks. Went to Amsterdam, right? And with Presley and a few other my mates from uni. And that was a good old time. But the reason I'm bringing Amsterdam up is because I had this experience with Presley, which is still unresolved. And, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? We embarked on a few of the mushrooms and truffles, right? The magic variety. And we had some fucking very strange experiences. First of all, the one that I thought was noteworthy was we got onto this tram, and anyone who doesn't know what one of the effects of mushrooms are, is one of the effects is you can't really do anything. You can't really hold enough of a thought pattern down to be able to execute a plan. You can't formulate a plan, and you definitely can't execute a plan because you won't be able to remember what the plan was because your mind is just on a mental fucking loop. It's difficult to explain, but you definitely can't make a plan. So whilst we were on the tram, these mushrooms started kicking in, and we were like, "Oh shit, it's happening." And then we were in a pickle because we were like, we need to get off the tram. But when? When do we get off the tram? We were in way too much of a state to be able to think, for any of us to take the lead role in that situation and go, right, guys, it's 3 stops away. Get off in 3 stops. That plan alone been mind-boggling in that mental situation there. And I don't know how the fuck we did it. I don't know who the fuck prompted it, but we managed to get off at the right place. And I still to this day don't know how we did that, because to me, that seemed impossible at the time. Something else weird that happened was we were trying to go into a cafe just to chill out or do something, because we're in Amsterdam. Let's go to a cafe. We're tripping. And me and Presley tried going into the cafe, one of the ones called Grasshopper. I think there's 2 Grasshoppers now in Amsterdam, which is annoying because if you try and send someone to get to the bottom of this little puzzle I've got in a minute I'll tell you about, it's impossible because there's 2 fucking Grasshoppers. Anyway, we went into one of these Grasshoppers, and down the steps, we're trying to go to the toilet. Down the steps, I think it said toilet on the door. We're like, right, the toilet's down here. Presley went first, and he got to the door, and he turned around and said, no, it's fake. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's an optical illusion, this door. It's not real. And I was like, nah, that's just because you're tripping on mushrooms. You think it's not real, but it is real. Anyway, we tried to, obviously the conversation didn't go like that. That's what we were trying to get across to each other. Obviously, we were just probably shouting noises at each other. And we decided that we couldn't get to the bottom of it, whether it was real or not. But because we were drawing so much attention to ourselves, trying to figure out if this fucking door was real, we panicked and had to run out of there. So we just ran out of the coffee shop. And to this day, I still don't know if that door is real or not. So I had a mate who went over there recently, and I said, do me a favour, go to the Grasshopper, go down the steps and tell me if the door's real. And he said, I would, but the problem is there's 2 Grasshoppers. Which one? I said, you motherfucker. There's 2. Of course there is. Of course there is. There's no way I can ever find out now. Anyway, so yeah, did that. That was fun. We both went travelling as well, sort of like a bit later than that. I think in the early 20s. Presley did it a lot more, like fully fledged than me. I just went Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, Nepal. Presley did it proper. He went to loads of places. He went to every corner of the fucking earth. I think he went to South America. He went to Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia. He went to loads of places. Europe, parts of Europe. He was doing it for years. I think about 5 years, 5 or 6 years maybe. And but during the travels, we met at this place called Bundaberg, and it's just like this little place in Queensland. Yeah, Queensland in Australia. We just met there for a bit and just chilled for a couple of weeks. And yeah, we had a bit of a good time. The hostel we were at was fucking disgusting. It was bed bugs everywhere, biting everyone. There was electric in the taps. So if you touch the tap, you could sort of get electrocuted in a way. You could feel the electric going through it. It was dirty. There was cockroaches everywhere. But when you're a crusty little backpacker, you don't give a shit, do you? It's just funny. And that's where we met that Shin Wayne fella that I mentioned in a previous podcast, who liked to eat Nutella and cheese sandwiches. But yeah, and he's a very loyal mate to have, and he'd do anything for you. He'd come and help you if you're in trouble at the drop of a hat, and he's proven that in the past. So yeah, I wouldn't ever want to put that friendship in jeopardy. And it's interesting when you build up these friendships at a younger age. I feel like the friends you make when you're younger the bond is stronger for some reason, because you can meet up with them after not seeing them for 5 years, and that bond is still there. And he's one of them, and I think I've got about 5 of them. The rest of the people I meet later on in life, I have like temporary friendships for like 1 or 2 years, or 2 or 3 years, and then they toddle on, and that's okay. It's okay to have friends for a few years. You know what I mean? There's nothing, you enjoy time together in that moment. And I hope I make many more throughout my life, you know what I mean? But there's some that I want to keep hold of, the ones that you make early. And old Presley is one of them. Like I say, he's a good mate to have. He'll do anything for you. He puts himself before you a lot of the time. One of the times, right, we're in trouble. And what happened was, I went to visit him in Lyon because he lived in France for a bit. And we went into the supermarket to get some cider, some Cidre Boucher. And what we did was we picked it up, about 6 bottles or something like that. And we had every intention of paying for it, every intention in the world. It's just the queue was so fucking long. We were like, oh man, it's so busy in here. We're going to be here for hours. Look at that size of the queue. And I hate waiting at the best of times. But this queue, I was like, nah. So we were like, should we just walk out of it? It's only a few little bottles of cider. What's the worst that could happen? Anyway, we did it. And then we got grabbed by security about 6 steps outside the store. And they were like, receipt? And I was like, I don't speak French. Anyway, I managed to leg it. I legged it, put the bags on the floor and just legged it. And Presley got grabbed up by these fucking security guards. And I was like, shit, I can't leave him there. That's not a good thing to do. As you can't leave your mate getting grabbed up by 2 fucking French security guards. So I started to walk back over there. And I got about 10 meters away. Presley saw me approaching. And then he sort of hand gestured me. He signaled to go. He's like, go away. I've got this. And that's what sort of friend he is. He'll quite happily just fucking take something on the chin like that for you. And you know, that's the sort of mates you want in life, isn't it? He's one of those people who don't like to talk about like inconveniences or hardships in their life. He's sort of a bit private about anything that's bad happened to him. You know, you get some people who are more, all they want to do is talk about how fucked their life is. They go, oh, fucking this happened to me today. Oh, this fucking happens to me every day. My fucking mum's not very well. I'm fucking ill. You know what I mean? I fucking can't pay my fucking this, that, and the other. Some people just love to moan. Presley, he never moans. He never fucking moans. I think he internalizes negative emotions. A little bit like the Inuits. It's rare that you see him angry or lose his temper or anything like that. He's got good self-control, which is why he was perfect for the role of dealing with tricky situations when we were out in groups. If there was ever like a debate going on, right, that was rubbing him up the wrong way, he would always bite his tongue until the last moment. And then eventually, every now and then, he would raise his voice, but it was rare. And it was like, when it happened, everyone automatically would sort of take heed. They'd sort of like, take heed of what he was saying, because it would come in towards the end. And it all came from that beer incident, I think. I think that's why he had the final say, or one of the reasons he had a final say in a lot of otherwise unresolved matters. Because he'd spend a lot of time listening, digesting, and then come in with a summary execution, if necessary. And because he waited for the right time to come in with his 2p, everyone would go, fair enough. And that was sort of what he did, and it was good. But if there was no need for a resolution, he'd quite happily chip in with some quips and some jovial remarks, sniggering, always holding his beer bottle up to his bottom lip there, and the trunk of the beer sort of like just nestled under his chin. I think he just must have enjoyed the aroma of lager sort of in between gulps. But that sort of, I've run out of time now. That sort of summarises my cheeky little nostalgic throwback to people from the past and present. That doesn't mean I ain't going to see this fella. I'm going to see him very soon, actually, in the coming months, because there's going to be quite a reason for celebration coming up soon. And I look forward to it. And I look forward to making plenty of more mental memories with him in the future. You know what I mean? When you get older, you don't see people as often because you all get lives. You all go off and do different things. You all live in different areas of the fucking country, or sometimes the world. Some people move to different countries. And, you know, one of my ways of communicating is via this podcast. And today's podcast, I'm going to leave you with a conducive summary in the form of a little tune that I made about this Olivia Presley. So here it is, and thanks for listening, and I'll see you back next week as we move into episode 21. Every 10 episodes, I'm going to drop a person from the past fucking feature, and that was today's. So the next one's going to be on episode 30, and I'll leave it out here. I'm just rambling on now. Here's the tune, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Olivia Presley is a friend of mine. We traveled the world and he traveled his mind. He's got 10 fingers and I've got 9.5 if you count the stump. And he's always been a good one, everybody's mama's favorite son. Didn't touch a drug till he was 21, guaranteed to be sensible, sober at the festival. Didn't go to the raves, so well behaved. Olivia Presley was reluctant to take any LSD or bombs of MDMA. He'd have one line and I'd have 9.5 if you scraped the back. But he'd always chip in a fiver, designated driver. Couldn't be any nicer. He thinks about the consequence, careful that he don't offend in any left-wing debate. So well behaved. Olivia Presley, well, he owns some land which doesn't quite fit with his political stance. He thinks like left but lives like right. Everybody now get off of my land. With a quad bike, dog and a shotgun, no trespassing on that farm. Ramblers sure to be long gone, up to feed the cows at 8. Don't forget to close the gates, decking their bales of hay. So well behaved. He's been to India and Africa, Australia too. When in Amsterdam he didn't touch a prostitute. He paid that money but he said he didn't follow through. Red light, don't go to the blues. And we all just have to believe it, that he paid for that pussy to leave it. And I know that he would never deceive me. He's a little bit mysterious, morally superior in every single way. So well behaved. Well, over the years his position has changed. He's a little bit sensitive, so watch what you say. You'll be politically corrected if you ever accidentally offend. Too much time spent with the French, but he's back in his UK hometown, living a life on the high ground. Didn't go out in the lockdowns. Viva la revolution, law-abiding citizen, against the rules that he won't break. So well behaved. Could have waited time, didn't it? You know what I mean?